Good morning. Following my last two posts, I have had an outpouring of women. I've had over 40 messages from some people I've known for 40 years. Some people have just seen my blog on YouTube. I wasn't really planning or expecting on doing something daily, if I'm honest, but I didn't really plan on a lot when I started to do this. I just felt the need to get my story out there, to explain how I felt really, and just to let other women know that we're just not alone going through this just awful phase. I'm going to address today, I've had quite a few messages of women regarding my postpartum anxiety, because obviously I just think it is one of the major parts of the menopause which I wasn't really aware of until I was an absolute nervous wreck. My worst time was not long ago, probably about 10, 11 weeks ago, when I was in my office. I have an office at home, I work from home. I was in my office and one tiny little thing went wrong, and my reaction to it was so severe that I ended up a hysterical mess in my office. Now, I'm not a crier really, I never have been. I'm a kind of suck it up and tough it up kind of girl. So for my husband to find me hysterically in my office, he was probably more traumatised than I was, physically dragging me out saying I just need to get out and I need to kind of breathe, which was right, and it was something that I needed to do. But the anxiety for me was something that I didn't realise what it was. For probably about 2 years, I just was not feeling myself, and I had this knot in the bottom of my stomach constantly. And not just once a day. Even today, taking HRT, I probably have to rebalance myself 4, 5, 6 times a day. It depends on how my jiggly hormones are playing up on whatever day it sees fit. Again, like I keep saying, this is out of our control. So I can't control when my anxiety hits, like I can't control anything else that's going on in my body really at the moment. But following a message from one of my real close friends, actually, early hours of this morning, she was awake, suffering anxiety. I just really want to explain to you what have been going on with me, and again, how I just deal with it. Part of my symptoms of the menopause have been night sweats. Even taking HRT, those have not stopped for 1 minute. So my poor long-suffering husband sleeps in a bed with a quilt wrapped around him while I'm practically naked with air conditioning on because I'm atomic. I'm so hot you would think that I had some kind of viral temperature, and that is probably for me most of the night. Now, as a result of that, I wake up a lot, so I very rarely have a full night's sleep because I just don't get to do that, because my body just don't allow me to do that anymore. And I think the quiet times are the worst. Many of my friends will always say to you how busy I am. If I'm not working, I've got a garden project, or I'm doing something else. But part of the reason I keep busy is the busier that I keep, the less time I have on my hands to think about how I'm feeling. Because the irrational side of the hormonal anxiety is we cannot change how we feel, but we can only change how we acknowledge it. So as crazy as this sounds, I have this little Sammy that's sat on my shoulder. And quite often, I'm on holiday at the moment in Turkey, and it's, gone 12 p.m. here for us. I've had 2 moments already today, and we're not even halfway through the day. But I have to literally take a step back, balance myself, and literally say to myself, you have to stop. Just stop. Smell, breathe, and just sit and just remember this is nothing that is wrong. There is nothing that's going on around you. There is nothing for you to be worried about. This feeling is just purely a hormonal change in your body. Now, it does help me, but I have to sit back, breathe, and just remember that there is just nothing going on whatsoever, and this is just my body's reaction to just all these crazy hormones that seem to be running through my body at the moment. And it's tough. It's really tough because it's something you have to deal with on a daily basis. The other thing that I want to say about this is I think that women really don't know what they have to deal with. I certainly didn't. I kind of headed into this menopause not even knowing it was the menopause. As I've discussed in my initial videos, I genuinely thought that there was something majorly wrong with me, not just this change going on in my body. But the other thing I want to say is I hope men and husbands are watching this diary. I'm, as you can imagine by me speaking in this video, although it was extremely scary for me, I am really open with how I've been feeling. Not for a long time, because I think that my friends see me as the strong person, if I'm honest, the person that they would come to if they had any problems. So for me to all of a sudden need some support, it was a change in balance. And I didn't really say for a while how I was feeling. This transpired to me because due to my migraines and the way my body was reacting over a period of years, I was unable to do many things that I wanted to do. You know, I missed birthdays, I missed wedding parties, I missed dinners, I missed girls' night out because I just was physically unable to attend. My body couldn't decide whether I was going to have a migraine that day, and if I'd had 3 or 4 migraines in a day, I was unable to take any more prescription drugs. So I was kind of left with a migraine, and the only way for me to get rid of that was to kind of sleep it off and hope that it would go away. Which it did, because it's a hormonal change. They do go, but unfortunately they do come in droves. But what I want to say is that we just need to really, really be open, not with just ourselves, but with our husbands and the men in our lives and the children in our lives. It was a standard joke in my house that my son would come home from work, find me in bed and go, "Oh God, a migraine day again, Mum." And it is a bit of a standard joke, but the truth of it is I spoke about it. He knew that I was on the menopause, and I mean, he's 24, he doesn't really want to know what goes on for women, but I just hope that I've, over the last couple of years, made him aware of how I'm feeling, that he can be aware for himself for the future. And I think us women really, really, really need to speak to our partners on about how we're feeling, because if we're not acknowledging how we're feeling, it means that we're not passing that information on to the people who are around us, who love us, who can actually support us through it. I'm just really lucky, and I'm vocal, and my husband understands, and he can actually see the change in me now. Actually, he can take a look at me and say, "Oh, you're not feeling right today," because I just think that you know, when you know somebody, you can see that in them. But I just want men to be more aware of what us women are dealing with, because I just think it's such a massive change for us to be going through. To be suffering in silence is bad enough, but to be suffering in silence without any support from our inner family, it's probably worse. And I think we need to give our men a bit more credit than we probably do. I think men in general tend to lack that kind of empathy with women. I think, as they say, men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or whatever the saying goes. But the reality of it is we're just very different, and we operate differently, and men are brought up to be non-emotional in a way that we are. So I think that the one thing that I learned is, by being honest with my husband, helped me deal with it myself a bit better. Because once you start to be honest with how you're feeling, you can be honest with yourself and you can make a change. Now, the anxiety for me hasn't stopped with HRT, and I just don't expect it to. The reality of it is, is the hormones are changing regularly. I don't know how I'm going to feel from one day to the next until I wake up in the morning. But I genuinely feel by taking a step out, breathing, and physically talking to myself. I talk to myself. My kids think I'm absolutely bonkers. And I say, Sammy, you're okay. There's nothing wrong. It's hormonal. And once I kind of acknowledge that in my head, I kind of take myself back to center again. Not for long. Sometimes I may have another anxiety attack in an hour. Sometimes it won't be for 6 hours. But it does help me kind of deal with it in the best way that I can with what's going on at the moment. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much again for your continued support. It has honestly been overwhelming. I never expected the response that I've had, and it's just really made me realise and validate why I decided to do this. And I think that us women got to empower and support each other and be honest while we're going through this, because talking helps and talking is key. Have a lovely day.